Welcome to 101, the mini podcast project. I'm your host, Anthony Cruz, and today is April 10th, 2017. Hello, folks. I hope everybody's doing well. And as you could tell from the very militant music I'm playing in the background, you know what we're going to talk about. That's right. We're talking about the U.S. bombing Syria. And I have to admit that I try to stay off things like this, but you know what? You have to talk about it, man. It's pretty big news, and it's pretty serious out there. So, if anybody has seen the videos that surfaced about a week or two ago about the kids and the people dying, being gassed by the government in Syria, the U.S. launched a retaliatory attack on an air base in Syria in response to those bombings, and it was really horrific. That video, I saw the video myself, and wow, it was heavy to watch. You know, suspend this all thoughts about whether or not it's legit. You don't know if it's an old video and they're resurfacing it now or whatever the case may be. But I mean, everything leading up to that video, everything spoken about that video led people to believe that it happened recently, and whether or not the Tomahawk missile strikes that the U.S. launched was justified, and that's a hard pill to swallow. I mean, there's a part of me that wants to support the response, but another part of me that, the whole like answering violence with violence, it's a hard pill. I mean, the only thing you can do proactively is talk about it and see where you stand on it. Believe it or not, it's not all hand holding and all kinds of like what's the word I'm looking for? Where the world is not as colorly and kind as you may think it is. I mean, it's a gritty world, and giving just an ounce of leeway, saying that people won't, revert to their baser needs, and that's survival. That they won't screw you over in the process. And this goes all the way up to, on the playing field of war. Here it is. You have very hostile regimes in foreign countries who would test, the U.S. on a constant basis to see if they would react or retaliate and things like that. And for the most part, especially during Obama's administration, there wasn't a lot of military reaction to any kind of terrorist act. Yes, we went after Bin Laden and things like that, but when it directly involved us, then yeah, we would respond. But then at the same token, if it just happened to be innocents in another country, the U.S. stood idly by, almost damn near idly by while Russia claimed over what was it? Not Syria. What was the other one? God damn it! I hate when I have to kind of crawl up this information like this. But yeah, I mean the U.S. didn't respond in the last administration like that, and I hate for me to say that. It doesn't respond well to threats like that. So in this case, do I say that every once in a while you have to show that we're willing to get our elbows dirty, our hands dirty, or whatever the term is, to kind of say this stuff would not be tolerated, not just to us, but to innocents out there? Or was it just a big political stance? I don't know what to really say about that. The only thing I could say about it is that it's just escalate. It escalates. That's all it's really gonna do. It's gonna escalate. It's gonna go from just bombing an airfield to Russia sending warships to meet our ships. You know, and then like we're sending a strike force to the Korean Peninsula. Like, it just moves, man, and moves, escalates to other things, and then before you know it, you're at war. And it's a scary thought. Sometimes we like to bury our heads in the sand. We like to think about that it's gonna be okay, and you know, we'll just watch our TV shows and live it good over here. But it's a real world out there, and you know, I always joked around that, you know, don't fuck with Americans. Like, we like being here and being fat. You know, we like watching our shows. We like not caring about what's going on. But as soon as you start fucking with us, then there's hell to pay. And I wonder if that still holds true. But yeah, man, that's some pretty serious stuff. And the line is like severely divided about whether we were right to strike back or we were justified. I'm not very political, but I don't know. I'm fighting that duality right there. Like I said, you know what? Sometimes it's strong. It's okay to show your strong arm. Just puff your chest out and say, "Listen, we're here. We're not gonna tolerate that shit." At the same token, you know, the whole violence with violence thing. So, you know, I wish we all could live in peace, but that's not the case. Anyway, fuck that shit. Moving on to happier stuff. Part 2, I don't know how Netflix does it, but Netflix has a way of, like, they'll drop a season of a show and then drop the second half of the season later on, or do they count it as season 2? Because some will argue that part 2 would be, you know, just part 2 of the season, the second half, kind of like when TV shows go on break for like that holiday 8 weeks or whatever. But then at the same token, you can also misconstrue it as the season 2 because it took X amount of months before the next set of episodes came out. So that's what happened. The breakdown dropped part 2, and you know, they added some elements that weren't in the first half. That's why it kind of feels like a second season rather than the first. But having watched all of it, it was only 6 episodes. So if you want to say that a 12 episode season is kind of what Netflix kind of does, then that would make sense. But the way the second season was done felt a lot different than season 1, or the second half felt a lot different than season 1. So with that, I really don't know what to think. But it was good. I mean, it looked like the writing came together on this one, where the other one, it felt a little, I don't know. The first half was wicked good. Don't get me wrong. It felt fresh. It felt different. It was really, really tight. But it felt like the direction, I don't know what they wanted to go with the direction of it. This second half seemed more focused, and they got to the end, and by the time I got to the final episode, to the final shot, I'm like, oh man, I gotta see what happens next. Like, this is crazy. So good job on the people who did the get down, you know what I'm saying? Some people might get turned off in the second half, and I can understand why, because they included a lot of these new animation shots, and that's what I meant by it feeling new and feeling different, like a second season. But yeah, they included a lot of these animation stuff, and I like animation, I dug it, but not many people will. And then and that's it. And what else? Thor Ragnarok trailer dropped. Holy shit, yo, that freaking trailer was dope. They set the stage well, man. They featured everybody. I mean, they featured was it Hela, Loki, Hulk, all of it, man. That's a spoilers for a trailer, but yeah, Hulk is in it, if you didn't already know. Yeah, man, it was pretty dope. Pretty dope. And what else been going on? Yeah, I mean that was it, man. That was basically that's all that was going on with as far as trailers are concerned. I mean, they dropped the new Transformers trailer and they dropped the new they dropped some trailers, man. But no, the biggest thing was Thor Ragnarok, man. Rock on. And man, I ain't got much to say on this one. I think I just want to talk shit. I just want to talk some shit. What else is happening? You know what? You know what it is? When I come into these podcasts, I have like no script, no itinerary, no synopsis, no packet that says, all right, I'm going to talk about this, I'm going to talk about that. I really have no direction. And I don't know, I not to say that it would be disingenuous, and maybe it's a little sloppy on my part, but I don't know, I like just thinking about what comes to the mind and just spitting off the top of my head. It's the most realist thoughts and the most raw thoughts you could possibly have. When you start to predictate, and that's not even a fucking word, but you know, you start to dictate in advance to your podcast or to wherever your medium is, then you're kind of scripting it, and you lose a lot of the pure thoughts that kind of runs through you, right? So whether I'm doing the corner or I'm doing the one-on-one, or even when I do the Creators Corner concepts, right? I have an idea about what I want to do or I want to say, but it's not, I do it right then on the spot. It flows. So what's in my head doesn't necessarily come out what's on screen, you know, or on paper or wherever it is I do it. So I find that I sometimes have these long pauses between I talk because, you know, it's hard. But what happens is I'm trying to train my mind to think fast and not let my mind get ahead of my mouth, because that happens too. And then I get caught up on words, and then I start with the uhs and all that shit that I was talking about in the previous podcast. Yeah, so it's really good shit, flowing off the dome. I don't want to stay on the topic too long. I only got 20 minutes with this shit, man. I only have 20 minutes. So I'm going through this transition phase in my life where I want to downsize. I want to eliminate clutter. I want to minimize movement. I want to minimize actions while yielding the best results. So if it takes me a little bit longer to come to a finalization or a conclusion, it's because I'm trying to figure out the way that I can get the most amount of output with the least amount of effort. Because I have a tendency to rush and do things and fuck up, and then have to do double the work just to fix it. It's true in almost every aspect of my life. At work, here at home, doing the projects. So I'm going through this phase now where it's all about my DVDs and movies. So I want to get rid of all my DVDs and movies, but not really get rid of them. So how do I do that? Well, I go and I rip them onto files, and then I store them, and I put them away somewhere and hide them kind of, so that people come by and they don't see all these damn movies and they say, yo, look at that nerd with all the movies. No. No, that's not how I roll. If you go on Amazon, check it out. They got these books. Well, yeah, they're books basically. They're binders, and they come with slip covers where you can put the DVDs and the entire cover, the sleeve, in there, and then you put them on your shelf, and it looks like encyclopedias. Like it's really cool shit. And that way you kind of eliminate the boxes. You still keep the DVDs. You paid a lot of money for them, so why get rid of them? My sister-in-law went to see what all her DVDs would cost from her TV series or her movies or whatever, and she's sitting there putting in the UPC codes, and like I swear to God, I would say maybe about $600 worth of DVDs that she had collected from like Buffy the Vampire Slayer and Charmed and all these things. It came out to like anywhere between $23 and $28, like, because you're trading these things in and they're giving you cents to the dime. You know, it's part of the problem that GameStop has with the trade-in values. You spend a lot of money, good money on these games, and they won't even give you a worth it value in return. You know, you'll get, oh, this is $1, this is $2. You know, you're lucky if you get that. Hell, I tried to take Destiny in, they wouldn't even take the goddamn thing. You know? And they gave me some bullshit excuse about, we usually sell it with downloadable content, so we can't sell this. Really? There's kids in Kosovo who will kill to have Destiny. Oh, man. So, like I said, if you're looking to downgrade your clutter in your home, possibly one of the best ways to do that is to figure out ways to like hide everything while still keeping them out in the open. And trust me, I collected so many DVDs in my life that I got overwhelmed. And now I'm trying to figure out a way so that I don't waste the money, but I can open up my world and live better in my place. Man, I'm all about feng shui and, you know, good energy in your home. Your home is your home is your palace. It's your empire. It's the place you should feel your most safest, your most comfortable. It should be. You should never feel uncomfortable in your own home. And when I start to feel uncomfortable in my own home, I gotta do shit about it. So, yeah, I mean, just a little bit of information coming from the dome. You know, I know nobody really gives a fuck about that, but I do, and therefore I say. So I take that, and what can I say, man? That's just the way I flow. That's just the way I think. You know. Hey, do whatever you want to do. If you like clutter, just be prepared to have no visitors. They'll come over once and never come over again. And if that's what you want, then yeah, by all means, keep the clutter. But I like having a comfortable home, man. What can I tell you? But I got really into like statues and like, you know, pop culture stuff. So, and I've always liked them, but I never had, one, the funds, and secondly, I never had the space to do it. And now, you know, doing the podcast, I started getting a lot of figures and statues and toys and stuff, and putting those on display. And especially when you watch the corner, you can see them behind me. And it's almost like when people talk about when you get a tattoo, you can't stop with just one, you got to get more. That's how these statues are on these figures. Like, you can't stop with one. You got to keep getting the next one. So that's it. I mean, that's my thought. That's how I see it. So, from meeting you, thank you for joining me again on this 101 mini podcast project. I've been your host, Anthony Cruz. Remember to follow me on Instagram and Twitter at Tone and Stereo. Visit my Facebook page, Art Graphics Inc. And visit my website, artgraphicsinc.com. Subscribe. Damn it, subscribe. Put me on the map. Like, do all that shit. Send me an image. If you want to commission me to do some work, let me know. Shoot me an email. You know, it's there on the website. And yeah, man, I'm all in. Just come around my way. I'm having fun with this shit. Oh, and check out. I was just on this podcast on the other day, and it released today. April 10th, it released today. It's called widerangemediapodcast.com. Go to there. You can see, or you can't see, but you can hear the podcast It's great. It's also another pop culture podcast. You're gonna love it, and I'll see you next time. And peace.